A grammatically complete sentence is a group of words that contains a subject and a verb and expresses a complete thought. Independent clauses contain a subject and a verb and express a complete thought, so they are sentences. For example, everyone came to class today. Dependent clauses contain a subject and a verb, but they do not express a complete thought. They are dependent on an independent clause to finish the thought. Some writers, however, forget that and inadvertently create sentence fragments by treating dependent clauses as if they were complete sentences by punctuating the dependent clause as if it were a sentence. In this lecture, we're going to look at the various types of sentence fragments, possible causes for those in writing, and ways to fix them. A sentence fragment is a group of words that is not grammatically complete or does not express a complete thought, yet begins with a capital letter and ends with a period, exclamation point, or question mark. We have several types of sentence fragments. We can have a sentence fragment that is a phrase. We can have a sentence fragment that is a dependent clause. We can have a sentence fragment that is a noun followed by modifiers, such what we call added detail fragments. And we can have fragments that are sentences beginning with and or but they're missing a subject. In this lecture, we're going to just examine the sentence fragments that are phrases. Phrases as fragments occur when the writer mistakes a phrase for a complete sentence. Remember that a phrase does not contain a subject or a verb, so it can never be a complete sentence. One of the less common types of fragments as phrases is caused by the prepositional phrase. Here's an example of a prepositional phrase that is written as a fragment. Over the river and through the woods. We have a prepositional phrase here, actually two, and if this were written as presented on the slide, this would be a sentence fragment. A more common type of fragment is caused by misunderstood verbal phrases, such as the infinitive phrase and the participial phrase. Because the phrase has a verb form, and writers forget that an infinitive, which is to plus a verb stem, and a present participle, ending in ing, are not complete verbs and do not take subjects. So, infinitive fragments occur when to appears at or near the start of a word group. For example, to remind people of their selfishness, period. Otis leaves handwritten notes on cars that take up 2 parking spaces, period. Here we have an infinitive phrase to remind people of their selfishness, and it is a sentence fragment the way it's currently written. It should be joined to the main clause which follows to make a complete sentence. So that is the most common way to correct an infinitive fragment. We make the infinitive phrase an introductory material by replacing the period with a comma. Participial fragments occur when a participial phrase appears at or near the start of a word group. Here we have a few examples. I spend all day in the employment office, period. trying to find a job that suited me, period. The first part, I spent all day in the employment office, is a complete sentence. It's an independent clause. But then we have a participial phrase following, trying to find a job that suited me. This is a sentence fragment. Number 2, Lola surprised Tony on the nature hike, picking blobs of resin off pine trees. She then she chewed them like bubble gum. So here we have two independent clauses and they surround a sentence fragment. Picking blobs of resin off pine trees is a participial phrase that is a sentence fragment. Number 3, Mel took an aisle seat on the bus, his reason being that he had more legroom there. So again, the first part of the sentence, Mel took an aisle seat on the bus, is a complete sentence. It's an independent clause. But his reasoning being that he had more legroom is a participial fragment because there is no verb. His reason being is not a verb. It's a participle. So how do we fix participial fragments? One way is to attach the fragment to the sentence that comes before it or the sentence that comes after it, whichever makes sense. So in our example number 1, we could fix the fragment by joining it to the sentence that comes before. For example, I spent all day in the office trying to find a job that suited me. I removed the period after office. I changed the T to a small letter, and now I have a complete sentence. The second one, what we can do is we can add a subject and change the participle to a conjugated verb. So in the previous slide, number 2 could read, instead of picking blobs from off resin, picking blobs of resin off pine trees, we could rewrite that sentence or that fragment to be, she picked blobs of resin off pine trees. I added a subject, she, and I changed picking to a conjugated verb, picked. A third way to fix the participial fragments, if we already have a subject, is to just change the participle into a verb form that is correct for the sentence. So instead of his reason being that he had more legroom, we could rewrite his, and then instead of his reason being, we could write his reason was that he had more legroom there. And these are 3 ways that we can fix participial fragments.